Hi, I'm Kim.
And I'm Wayne. And today we're going to be thinking about where we'll be nomading about in 2019.
So we went to our separate corners and we each created a list of 10 countries we wanted to visit next year. We don't know each other's list, but we are coming together and hopefully our lists will somewhat intersect because we're only going to try to hit 10 countries throughout the year. So somehow 10
We're not going to make 20, so
No.
some of these have to overlap.
Anyway, so that's our goal. So here we go. Why don't you start?
Okay, so I have no particular order. The one country I'd like to get to that I haven't been to before is Iceland. And Iceland has always intrigued me. It's a place where the continental plates are getting pulled apart. So the natural scenery there is spectacular. And unlike any other place on the earth, there's these hot springs and these volcanoes and glaciers. And yeah, and we'll definitely have to go there in the summer, obviously, because it's up north, obviously, by the Arctic Circle. And it's got this wonderful culture, too. It's one of the most advanced societies, one of the most peaceful societies. It's one of the most literate societies. There's more books read per capita in Iceland than anywhere else. And
I love it already.
You know, equitability of the genders and all across. It's one of those societies that all other countries aim to be, and I want to visit it.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Northern Lights.
That too.
So I divided my list into two parts. I did a pre-dorm move out and a post-dorm move out. Our youngest son is at university and he'll be moving out of the dorm sometime in May. So I'm sort of grouped my first group before that happens. And then once we get him moved out, we go on to the second half. So my first country is also a cheater because I know we're going there, and that is Mexico.
Well, that is cheating. Okay,
But we knew, so we did go to Mexico, or at least I did a few times this year, but we didn't count it as part of our 60 by 60 journey because it happened before China, and China was when we decided to do the journey, and we knew we were going back. But the real reason why I want to go to Mexico is to actually hang out in Mexico City. I've spent most of my time this past year on the beaches, which no complaints. Just because of the art and culture in Mexico City is fantastic. The street art is off the charts there. But the most important reason is about an hour north of Mexico City is the monarch butterfly habitat refuge. And they'll be in the breeding season, and the migration happens into this refuge, and I really, really want to see it. For anybody that knows me, when we lost my sister 30 years ago, the butterfly has always been her symbol. Whenever I see butterflies, I consider it a sign, even though he doesn't believe in them.
Well.
And so I am going to look for a lot of signs in Mexico.
All right. Well, another one on my list is Norway, obviously right next to Iceland there. And I've been to Norway a few times, and it's a country I just really enjoy. I have a good friend that lives there, so I'd like to go see Todd again. Hi, Todd.
Our oldest son's godfather.
Yep. And it's my ancestors came from there long, long ago, so I like to think of myself as a Viking. My sons and whole family, of course.
Speaking of our oldest son, when I was pregnant with him 22 years ago, before we even knew it was a him, barely even knew we were pregnant, the first thing Way went out and did was buy a baby Viking hat.
Oh, that's right. Of course. Norway's one of those really well-run countries like Iceland. It's a government that takes care of its people. It's advanced. It's easy to navigate. It's absolutely a gorgeous country with these beautiful glacier-cut fjords and mountains. And if we go in August, it's actually pretty equitable as far as temperature goes.
August?
August, yeah.
I guess that's a very specific timeline.
It's the warmest month there.
Okay, then. So I have another cheater because we also know we're going to this place, and it is Cuba. So I've always wanted to go to Cuba, but it hasn't always been accessible for Americans. And while it is more accessible these days, you still have to be part of a group or a tour or something along those lines to get into the country from the United States. But from Mexico, you can get a visa at the airport, and we can go to Cuba. So while we're there, next stop, Cuba, seems logical that those would be our number 1, 2 for the year.
Yep.
And I've just had a huge fascination with it, and I'm really looking forward to it. One of the things I really want to do, which sort of goes against the grain of how we travel, but it's sort of a cliche, is the convertible pink Cadillac tours. I just really want to go in a pink Cadillac. You gotta be a tourist sometime.
All right, so I'm on board with that, and Cuba's on my list, so I'll talk about Cuba. So yeah, I really would like to see Havana. I have this romanticized idea of Havana in the 50s when Americans, rich and famous, would go there to do things they couldn't do in the U.S. you know, drinking and gambling and whatever the rich and famous do there in Havana. But it's got this kind of romanticized, seedy side to it. And I realize it's not like that anymore, obviously, but it's also this place that's locked in a bit of a time warp from the 50s. So they've got, you know, cars from the 50s that are still operating, that they've taken good care of, and they're still, you know, they're still using those as day-to-day vehicles for themselves. So that's a big part of it for me. And then my father lived there with his parents, my grandparents.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they actually had to be evacuated from Cuba during World War II. So how it ended up in Florida.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I probably knew that. Maybe.
Maybe. Should have.
The next country on my list is Belize, which is where we should be right now. When we were planning our what we were going to do over my son's winter break from university, Belize was on the top of the list because it has the second biggest or longest barrier reef. It has the blue hole. My son's a scuba diver. So we had started to do research. We had agreed that's where we were going to go. And I got really excited about it all. And then he decided he wanted to come to Flagstaff. And while I love being home in our mountain town, it is snowing right now, 4 to 8 inches expected today, New Year's Eve. Yay. So
It's so cold I got sick.
I don't think
No, that would not have happened to Belize.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Belize is, just because I'm still sort of excited about it from all the research, I put Belize on my list. And if we do it around spring break, then maybe he'll come join us.
Yeah, that would be great.
So.
Well, I'm on board for Belize for sure. It's not on my list, but we can do it.
Okay.
All right. Another one on my list is Italy. So there's an easy one for you. Italy
My
is
people.
yeah. So we have family there, which is really nice. It's they love having us over there, and we love seeing them. We always have a really great time together. So that's a big plus for us.
They take such good care of us.
Yeah, they really do. But beyond that, for me, Italy is the country that has the lifestyle that I enjoy the most and identify the most with. It's people get things done, but they get it done at a pace that's comfortable and easygoing, and it's that cafe lifestyle where you can meet a friend for a coffee and be there for 2 hours and have appetizers and wrap the day up with a $1
Aperol
glass
Spritz.
of wine that's first rate. Yeah, and of course there's the history and the architecture and our family's up by the Alps, and I love the mountains. So we need to get down to the beach a little bit more this time, obviously. But anyway, Italy, #1 culture.
Okay, good. So my next place is the Turks and Caicos. For no other reason than I was looking for a place where I could be lazy. I mean, we are working while we're traveling, so besides, doing this, which is shooting vlogs, which is not really our work, my work is writing, and so sometimes touring and working, it's a little exhausting. So I tried to put in a break in each one of these where I could just be lazy for a little while, and Turks and Caicos is it. Beach, warm water, beautiful, just beautiful country. I've heard such wonderful things about it. The Caribbean lifestyle, how can you go wrong?
Yeah, I'm not a big island person, but I'll join you there. I'll make the sacrifice.
So we might be a little island crazy at the end of a month if we decide to do it for a full month, but I think we could persevere.
We'll push our comfort zone. Another on my list is Chile, and what really intrigues me about Chile is the Atacama Desert. I first learned about this in my undergraduate work, and it's a place on the earth where it has never rained. They've kept weather records for 500 years, and it never has rained until last year. But that in itself makes it even more interesting to me. It's really 500 years of no rain, and then they get it next year or last year. So the environment there is unique to any place on the earth.
So no beach.
Oh, there's a beach.
In the Atacama Desert?
Yeah, it goes right up against the Pacific Ocean.
I'm game. Let's go.
Yeah, well, you won't have a cloudy day.
It didn't sound like there was any beach going on with no rain.
Oh, there's beach there for sure. And there are resorts. There's just very little water. So anyway, so the environment there is unique to almost anywhere on the earth, and that is a place I'd like to see. A place that's unlike any other place on the earth. And people have lived there for hundreds of years, but they live very differently, obviously, because of the environment. And those are the types of things that intrigue me.
Okay, I like it.
All right.
So then the next on my list, and this will end my pre-move out tour,
okay,
is Colombia. Again, When Wei was going to be in China this past fall, I wasn't actually going to go. I was going to actually go to Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia
Right.
without him. Then I decided to go to China, which I'm really glad that I did.
Told you you'd like it.
I did the research for Colombia mainly because I was looking for cheap flights from Havana. And Colombia came up, and I didn't really know a lot about it, and I just started looking at Cartagena, which is a beach city, a port city, an ancient port city with just amazing architecture. It was so beautiful in the pictures that it hasn't left my mind. So again, because I had done a little bit of the research for that already, it was something that is fresh in my mind, and so I really wanted to do that.
Well, I'm on board with Colombia as well, for sure.
And I'd be willing to go inland as well. I would like to explore more than just beaches, but I am driven by the water. The beach fuels my soul, so I'd like that to sort of be our home base, and then we can go explore outward.
Okay. Well, not far from Colombia, or at least on the same continent, is the next country for me, which is Uruguay. And I really like Uruguay because it's a country that's not well known, but it's well run. It's got a democratic government that really takes care of its people. It has some of the most beautiful rivers and waterfalls in the world. It's tucked up right between Argentina and Brazil. And it just has this reputation of being a very friendly and very organized and well-run place.
Okay.
I want to give it a shot.
Okay. Have you been there?
I've not.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like it. So now we have theoretically moved our son out of the dorm, and I'd like to head back to Italy.
Okay.
I knew we could come to some agreement.
So we have got two, Cuba and Italy. Okay.
So, obviously we'll need to spend some time with my family and stress it, not need to, want to, desire to. Oh my God, it's just such an amazing experience. I did not want to leave. We actually talked about getting an apartment when we were there last summer, and, you know, I wouldn't be totally against that.
I'd be for that, yes.
But I also want to do some exploring. We spent 2 weeks in Florence as well last summer, and I wasn't prepared to love Florence as much as I did, but I'd love to spend some time out in, like, amongst the vineyards in Tuscany and maybe do some wine tasting. Cinque Terre is also on my list, and I would love to spend some time there in Siena and in that area. And then, of course, heading down south to Positano or maybe Sardinia. I could probably spend the whole entire summer there, so it's going to be hard to choose where we go. But I have a feeling Italy will be a place we will, not even have a feeling, I know we will continue to go back there.
Yes.
Just because it's my homeland.
Oh,
it's
the
my
lifestyle
people.
there is just, it's the way to live your life.
The food. Oh my
wine.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, another one on my list is Namibia. Again, it's one of those countries that not a lot of people know about, but it's got a lot going for it. So when you think of safaris in Africa, you think of, like, you know, Kenya and Tanzania. But Namibia has quite a few safaris as well, but they're just not as crowded or as well known.
Well, then let's go there.
Yeah. It's also one of the least densely populated countries in the world. So I like that kind of wide open, you know, spaces, lots of nature, lots of wild animals. And of course, there's the Namibia desert, which is, again, one of the driest places on the earth. Seems to be something I'm attracted to for some reason. But it has a lot of unique fauna and flora that have adapted to these huge rolling dunes that get almost no rain. So really interesting, unique place, again, that doesn't exist anywhere else on earth.
Cool. Okay, so my next country is Croatia. So
for sure.
First of all, I feel like I'm an honorary Croatian because half of my Italian family married Slavs, so I like to think of it as part of my homeland. It's obviously, you know, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Italy. There's a lot of beautiful natural parks, and the coastline is amazing. We were going to go there for our final 2 weeks last summer, but then again, you know, the boy wanted to come home, so we never ended up making it. So again, did some research, started planning, and now I need to make it a reality because a lot of my family has gone to Croatia over the last few years. Their pictures have been amazing. I've been salivating wanting to go. So
yes, I'm on board with that for sure. Okay. All right, another one on my list is Madagascar. And again, it's just one of those strange places that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. And what I really like about Madagascar is it's separated from Africa, you know, hundreds of millions of years ago. And so there was no exchange between fauna and flora. So it evolved completely differently than any other place on the Earth. So 90% of the animals and plants on Madagascar only exist in Madagascar.
That is
and
cool.
I want to see that.
I want to see that too. Yeah. Didn't they make a...
Oh gosh, just move on.
movie about that? I may have taken the boys to see that. Okay, so next on my list is France. Now, I've been to France. I've been to France many, many times. When I was a flight attendant for Pan Am, it was one of our destinations, and I just haven't been in so long. We did cross over the channel to France when we were living.
Yeah, we went to Calais in the 90s. Yeah.
So, but that was still a long time ago. And just the romance of the city. Plus, another one of our friends just came back from there. She loves it there. And her pictures are so romantic looking. And it's just the romance. It's like, it's the city of romance. And there's a reason for that. I mean, the wine, the bread, just everything about the city is sort of magical. So I'd really like to go back and just hang out and do some trips outside of the city, but really spend some time in Paris going to the museums and other things like that.
Great. Well, I'm on board with that. I'm surprised it's on your list.
You're on board with everything.
Well, I am, pretty much, yeah. That's why we're doing this.
Why is it surprised that's on the list?
Oh, just because we've both been there quite a few times, but you're right, it's been a long time. I said the 90s, but I guess it was really around 2003 or 4 we were last there.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it is similar to France in a lot of ways of its easygoing lifestyle and the great food and wine.
Well, we were only in Calais for a few days, and I just, most of the places I haven't been to, but there's a couple of places, France, and then going back to my next country, I can't tell yet. I have such a romantic memory of them. I'm hoping like the revisiting will live up to that, but it's just, I have such good feelings about it that I really wanted to go back.
I'll go back too. All right, so Nepal is next on my list. I've not been there yet. Yeah, cold, but actually not cold. Our oldest son was there a year or two ago, and in the winter, and he said because the elevation is so high that when the sun comes out, it just bakes everything, and you warm up. Now the night's a whole nother story apparently.
I don't believe it.
But I want to go there because it's this isolated country that has a unique culture. Again, it's in the Himalayas, which it's this unique mountain range in the world, and you can climb up to base camp, Everest Base Camp, and it's just this between the culture and the unique natural environment. I just want to go there.
So the next country on my list is Belgium, and specifically I want to go to Bruges. Okay. So I spent some time in Bruges back in the late 80s, and it's similar to Venice. It's a city built on canals. It's a beautiful walking city. It has amazing food because it's, has that French influence. So it's so good, so beautiful, really relaxed. It's sort of like, it's just a city again that I have this magical memory of, that I just had such great time there and good feelings and left on such a good note that I really want to go back and hope that the revisiting lives up to the memories I accumulated a long, long time ago.
Well, our oldest son was there too a couple of years ago and fell in love with it as well. So.
Did he go to Bruges?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I guess he did. Now that I think about it. I was so jealous, probably.
Okay, last on my list, well, not last, but the last on the list, but again, no order, is Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. I'm going to call it Burma since I can't say its real name. And I've been there before, and that's why I want to go back, because it's...
I also think it's called Myanmar, but he says it's Myanmar.
Burma.
Potato.
Yeah. It has some of the best food in the world. And you might have Burmese food. I've never even heard of it. And it has been a closed-off country, so you don't get a lot of, Burmese restaurants in America. But it's a combination of spices and flavors between Southeast Asia and India. And Myanmar borders India and Southeast Asia, obviously. So it's just the way that everything has come together in this transition area for the flavor of food is amazing. So
what's really interesting is when we were living in Thailand, we gave the boys each a trip for Christmas, and Brennan chose Myanmar. And so Wei and Brennan went there, and Carter and I went scuba diving. Well, Carter went scuba diving and I went snorkeling. And they came back saying how great this food is, and I'm still not quite sure I believe it.
Well, you'll find out. And it's a country that's not very visited because it's been so closed off. And obviously, it's closed off for a reason. But you can travel there. You can't travel everywhere. You have to be escorted sometimes. but the people are not necessarily used to foreigners and tourists. So they're genuinely happy to see you and want to engage with you, and they want you to eat at their restaurant and, you know, that type of stuff. So it's very welcoming and friendly that way. And the level of English is surprisingly really high there. So that makes it very easy to get around. You would, you know, expect it not to be.
Especially because you went from Thailand, which not
yeah,
very good.
Yeah, the level of English probably was low at the time. So looking forward to that. And then it has some of these hidden places like Bagan, which you may have never heard of, but it's one of the largest ruins in the world. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Angkor Wat. It puts Angkor Wat would like fit in a corner of Bagan. So I want to go back to Bagan, take the balloons over at this time.
Nice.
Yeah, there's just so many things to do and see. And
I would do balloons over Bagan.
That's what it's called. .com, I'm sure. Anyway, really want to get back there.
Okay. So last on my list is the Netherlands. Specifically, I want to go to Amsterdam. I've always wanted to go to Amsterdam. I probably had 3 or 4 or 5 friends go to Amsterdam over the last year, and I keep seeing these pictures, and they're riding their bikes, and they're along the water, and these beautiful houses, and I'm just like, I want to go. So I just have seen all of my friends go, and everybody raves about it, and I have just really wanted to go. So when I was actually creating this last part of the map post-dorm journey, I wanted to start in Italy and I wanted to end in Amsterdam, and I just sort of filled in the middle.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you had a bit of a geographic nexus with yours.
Yes,
so
because that's what I do. I'm the planner, so of course I'm already planning for the most economical way to see our countries.
Right.
So that is our list. We know for sure we're going to Mexico City and Cuba. That's next up for us. Sometime in January, we'll head out back onto the road after we get our kids settled. And later today, it is New Year's Eve. So this is part of our getting ready for the new year. We're going to go out to the Pine Cone Drop in downtown Flagstaff. So we will see you back here a little later as we get ready to head out.
I sigh at the dorkiness of the Pine Cone Drop, but it really is fun, and it's known the nation over.
So we'll see you back here in a few.
Happy New Year.
Okay, well, the time has come. We're getting ready to go to the Pine Cone Drop, so let's go ring in 2019.
We are here in downtown Flagstaff, and it is absolutely freezing.
Snowing.
And snowing. And we are here for the 20th annual Pine Cone Drop. We're doing it for 20 years now. It started back in 1999 when Sam and Henry, the 2 owners of the hotel, had an idea.
The Weatherford Hotel.
Oh, the Weatherford Hotel. Thanks, Kim. Wanted to do something to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the hotel. So they thought, well, New Year's Eve, on the 100th anniversary, we'll drop a pine cone. One-time event. It was so popular that first time that the community got together and said, you know, you got to do it again next New Year's. So they did. And now it's been 20 times they've dropped it, and it's grown into a worldwide phenomenon. There's about 15,000 people that attend this event now. So welcome to Flagstaff.
We are cheating a little bit because they have 2 pine cone drops, one at 10 p.m. for kids and one at midnight for the adults, but we're going to the kids one because it's freezing and we want to go back home.
have just celebrated the new year and wish you a happy new year. Join us as we travel to at least 10 countries this year.
And with that, we hope you'll take a chance and take a step outside of your comfort zone and adventure on, and we'll see you out there.
Happy New Year.